Drea Cooper is an award-winning director and executive producer. He makes docs, killer flicks, and he's on today to talk about the Money Game on Prime Video that's coming out. And I got to tell you, Dre, going back, and it's great to have you on the show. In your career, I remember one of your docs. It was the one about the fires in California. I lived in California, and I remember you made that flick about Fire in Paradise. That was badass. That won awards, that documentary. Did that, you had already been made a little bit with some of your other docs and gotten acclaim, but that one was really over the top cool. I thought that one put you on the map with me. I had heard of you after that. I was like, who is this dude making these cool docs?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, man, that was an intense one, to say the least. So yeah, Fire in Paradise. It's a pretty intense look at the situation out west. That's for sure.
And it's still happening today. It's happening right now as we speak in Orange County. It's awful. I lived in Huntington Beach. I used to always say, Dre, to my friends, I'd say, there's never fire down at the beach. Never have fire at the beach. We have bonfires at the beach when we go surfing.
Unless you live near a volcano. So I was born in Hawaii, and man, when you see the volcano hit the water and you see that intense reaction, man, it's pretty wild. But yeah, usually water is safe.
Where in Hawaii? Because I used to have a pad in Kona.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, my Aunt Karen used to live in Kona. So I was born on Oahu, but lived in Maui for a handful of years with my mom. We lived in like a little tool shed up country in Makawao. And then, then I moved to San Francisco as a little kid. So
yeah, I lived there too. I loved San Francisco, and I love California. I live in New York City now. It's hell on earth. Let's talk about the Money Game. Interestingly enough, it's a lot about on Prime Video about LSU, and I'm fascinated, to be honest with you, with Livvy Dunne. So she is making a fortune, and she should be. God bless her. She's dating that Paul Skeens. I'm a Pirate fan. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I watched this guy. Meanwhile, this chick, she lives near me, believe it or not, in real life when she's not at LSU. So I've seen her around, and believe me, she is well worth seeing around. When I see that girl, I'm like, well, I'm with my hot wife. I'm like, wow, look at that. That's that gymnast from LSU dating that baseball player. Look at her. I'm an old man. I'm all washed up. But my wife's smacks me in the face. And I'm like, look at that girl doing flips on the TV. How much money was that chick hauling in at LSU?
I mean, look, Olivia Dunne is the top earner in college sports today. She's pushing 10 million on NIL earnings right now.
Come on.
Yeah, man, it's pretty incredible. And look, this is the new world order of college athletics, which I think is pretty fascinating because, look, for 100 years, the system was virtually unchallenged, right? The NCAA, these big D1 programs across the country have been raking in millions and recently billions of bucks off these TV contracts. So I think it was a long time coming, but I don't think the NCAA or anybody had any idea exactly how this was going to play out. And here we are sort of in the middle of chaos in college sports.
How did Angel Reese do? She's doing really well now in the WNBA. Her season just ended with a wrist injury, but I'd imagine she was raking down there playing for Mulkey.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we follow a handful of the biggest athletes from LSU across the 23-24 school year. And really the idea was to see firsthand how the NIL policy change is impacting the lives of everyday college athletes. And so I think what's fascinating about our series is that we follow these big names that you just mentioned, Olivia Dunne, Angel Reese, Flau'jae Johnson, Jaden Daniels, but we also follow two other athletes who really make up the 98% of all college athletes. And that's Aaliyah Armstrong, a track athlete, and Trace Young, who plays on the men's basketball team. And they're the small fish, but that's the typical college athlete who's trying to find their way in this new, NIL landscape.
Did it surprise you Like you're not like exactly a guy doing tons of sports movies. So here you go down to Baton Rouge and you start following this money. Essentially, it's a money path of all these different athletes and what they make. It's kind of the haves and have-nots in essence, right? Like some of them make nothing at all and they go unnoticed, and that has to suck for them. And then these other ones are making all kinds of money. What was it like for you to be exposed to it as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, we've all got different opinions on NIL, right? The NIL policy came down just 3 years ago, I think, it was hotly contested then and it's hotly contested today. I think a lot of people have really strong ideas about the impact of NIL on college sports. But I think, rather than just talk about how messed up the policies are, how every state has different rules, I think I ultimately wanted to see, well, what is this really like for these athletes day to day? And so what I saw that I was really surprised by was, man, this NIL stuff is hard. It's a hustle. And to be honest, it doesn't matter if you're Livvy Dunne making millions of dollars or you're Leah Armstrong who's just struggling to find a deal. It's a
Right.
full-time job. And so you add, you've got already a full-time job with your sport. You're doing that 40 plus hours a week. You're a full-time student. And now you add to it this NIL piece, which is a job unto itself. It's pretty tricky to figure out how to come up in this. But look, it's an incredible opportunity. But every one of these kids is hustling in different ways. And so whether you've got a team of, 10 people behind you in the case of Livvy Dunne, or, really just yourself in the LSU NIL department like Aaliyah Armstrong, it's a game. It's a money game now. And everybody's trying to take advantage of this opportunity.
6 parts, this doc on Prime. So you really get into it. I think the struggle of some of these kids, that's intriguing to me more than just the ones that get flipped the stacks of money that make all the money. I think the struggle, I can't wait to watch it from the standpoint of those that have to kind of fend for themselves that you were mentioning, and how hard it is.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think what's really fascinating about the series that comes out of the 6 different athletes that we follow at LSU is this idea that, you've got some of these big earners, right, with Flau'jae and Jaden, but each person has a different relationship to NIL. So some might think, oh, well, Jaden Daniels, he must be taking full advantage of all these NIL deals coming his way. And I think what's interesting to learn about Jaden was that while he was a transfer, kid, he didn't get any money in the portal, right? Because he was sort of an untested entity, if you will. He had some talent. He showed streaks of greatness at Arizona State as a freshman, but his sophomore year was pretty rough. And he ends up going to LSU, no money guaranteed. And it wasn't until he beats Alabama in 22 at home at Death Valley where everybody sat up in their seat and said, holy, who's this kid?
Yeah.
And his first deal was from a local personal injury attorney, Gordon McKernan, came to the table and said, hey, man, I'm going to throw you some coin. I want to put you up on billboards all around Baton Rouge. And that was his first deal. And it turned out, after a little while, him and his mom were like, look, we're going to step back from NIL because it's starting to take away from the main goal,
Right.
which is going to the league. Right. And so Jaden's got that big opportunity. He could make 30 plus million and he ended up landing that incredible contract. However, someone like Olivia Dunne, there's no professional league for gymnasts. So that's what's tricky,
she's
man.
Incredible. Dre, great job. I can't wait to see the doc on Prime Video. Thanks for coming on C2C today, my man.